TOA and Fit Buddy Bootcamp communities. What's up, everybody? Robert Linkle, trainingtheolderadult.com. Nice to see you all. We just got done wrapping up a webinar on 7 strategies or 7 studies that we use training the older adult. And one of the hot topics in there, in multiple studies, there were assessments for older pops to see what they could do before the study and after the study. And the TUG, the timed up and go, was used in almost all of them. And as I continued to mention it and kind of talk about it, multiple people mentioned they weren't familiar with this, didn't really know what I was talking about as I continued to use the TUG, the timed up and go acronym, etc. So wanted to do a quick video on this just to kind of review the timed up and go, teach you how to do it. If you haven't done this before, it's super simple, very easy, gives you really good feedback, and give you the tools needed to start to implement this with your clients if you would like. The nice part about the timed up and go, is that basically what you use to do the 30-second sit to stand test is pretty much the same thing that we're going to use for this test. You're just going to need a tape measure and a cone or a marker of some sort, and that's pretty much it, okay? So the timed up and go is a simple test to assess risk falls. We're going to talk about functional mobility, which is really kind of the primary term, I guess you would say, that goes with this particular assessment. And the purpose of this, again, is we kind of went through the simplicities of what you need. Minimal equipment, you can perform it almost anywhere, only takes a minute, if that. Can be performed at home, so a lot of physical therapists or occupational therapists, will use these, in-house as minimal, base assessments, really simple to do and to implement. You'll need a chair, something with a solid seat, and a flat back. Keegan and I discussed this yesterday too. Like, I sit on a box right now. I'm sitting on a box, plyo box, and we use those in-house with our clients all the time. Any of our assessments are actually using a plyo box. It doesn't have a back on it, and the seat is completely flat. There's no curve to it. I think most chairs that people sit in on a regular basis have a little curve to them, and they have a back support. So I think with this particular assessment, if you can, use a real chair so people can sit fully into this. You want this to replicate real life as much as possible. So try to use real world chairs in seated positions, ideally to parallel. That means the crease of their hip and their kneecap are at the same height. So if you sit down and you look at your, take a picture of yourself, side view of yourself sitting in a chair, and your hip is up here and your knee is down here and you have this down angle, you're too high. If you sit super, super deep and it's like you got to rock and push with your arms to get up, you're too low. Ideally, your thighs are just flat, okay? So that's the ideal. You're going to use your stopwatch on your wristwatch or timer, or if they even make those anymore, on your cell phone, whatever you want to use. You'll need a measuring tape. We're measuring out 3 meters, which is 9.8 feet, or you could round up the extra 4 inches and make it 10 feet. Here in the US, we'll go 10 feet. Everywhere else, we'll do 3 meters, unless you're a pain in the ass like I am. And because of the world of throwing, where I come from, everything is measured in meters, everything is weighed in kilos, and so I was raised with pounds and kilos over pounds. I was raised with meters over feet. So a lot of the world of weighing and measuring in my brain defaults to the rest of the world. But then I have to go, oh yeah, I live in America, I need to use these. So almost every time I talk about measurements and weights and such, you'll see me stop for a second and go, wait a minute, say it in US terms. Just because in everybody else that I was raised with and everything else, everyone else is, they don't even know what I'm talking about when I talk about kilos and meters. Like, what are you talking about? But the world of throwing, when you lift things, they're kilos. When you throw things, you throw them in meters. That's just the world of throwing. So we learn those rather quickly as you grow up. Anyway, why did I go into that? You'll need a tape measure to measure off 3 meters or 10 feet. A piece of tape or chalk, a cone, a water bottle, anything. Anything that can go around and come back. And then the regular walking shoes, any assisted devices, okay, that they really routinely use to walk, such as a walker or a cane, they can use that. Now, they don't have to, like if you're like, well, you can't, if you have a cane or a walker, you can't do this. Absolutely. Anyone that can walk can do this assessment. That's the whole idea, is we need to see what kind of fall risk they are. So if they have a cane, if they have a walker, let them use it. That's the whole point. We are going to assess using whatever device you have or however you're getting around if you're a big fall risk or not. The cutoff on this, time-wise, okay, as we kind of go into this, is going to be 13 seconds. Really, it's 10 seconds or less, you're good. 10 to 20, risk. 20 to 30, big time risk, okay? Like you probably shouldn't go anywhere by yourself if it's taking you more than that. We simulated yesterday a 30-second test of this. It's so slow. It's like anyway, you'll see what I mean. Okay, so how to perform the test. Super simple. Person seated in the chair. 9 feet, 9.8 feet in front of them, 10 feet, is a cone or a marker. You're gonna say 3, 2, 1, go. They're gonna stand up, walk as quickly as they can out around the cone, come back, sit down. The second they sit down, you hit the timer. That's it. So easy, like super easy. You can do it a second time. And let's say when they go out, they go around the cone turning to the left. Maybe this time have them turn right and see how consistent their times are. Maybe they take 9 seconds to turn left and 13 seconds to turn right. Maybe that gives you some kind of indicator that right hand turns or navigating towards the right side of their body is a little bit more difficult, etc. Okay. Now, 2, maybe 3 efforts if you want to get some averages. Okay, go for it. Easy peasy. The individual performing the test is giving a max effort, so us, the coaches, should be walking with them to make sure they don't fall down. Now, if you're working with someone who needs assistance, the cane, the walker, not a bad idea to put a support strap on them. If you don't have one of those, I encourage you to get one. The lifting straps, I have one right there. The lifting straps that we use in-house for our pivot points and all that can double as those devices. We just double those up around their waist. I use it with my dad all the time. Any point when they're performing sit to stands, walks, gait steps, anything, and they might start to fall over, you have a strap you can grab onto them and control basically and assist them. Again, this is more of a manual therapy, physical therapy kind of thing, but in-house personal training with people that need assisted devices or that are big fall risks. Nothing wrong with us utilizing this tool, okay? Not a bad thing to have on site if you need it. So be next to them while they do this, okay? Yep, at least 2 assessments it says on there, so you have a consistency in there. There's our guidelines, 10 seconds or less normal, 20 seconds or so means good mobility, can walk outside alone, does not require walking aid. If it's 30 seconds or more, walking and balance problems are definitely indicated. Cannot walk outside alone, requires walking aid. These are general guidelines, but saying if it's taking you that long to walk 20 feet, 10 out, 10 back, it's taking you more than 30 seconds, we got a problem here, okay? Like this is definitely a concern. Reviewing the BMC geriatrics studies here, they basically found in 2014 that 13.5 seconds is that kind of average score where if you're above this, we're concerned. If you're below it, you're okay. That's kind of the cutoff, right, of where our concern should be, fall risk or not. Now, other considerations, let's see, they talk about blood pressure, blood sugar, energy levels the day of, medications, side effects, so be aware of all that. And, here's some alternatives they have into here. Pick up weight test, in which they reach down, pick up a weight, an object off the floor in return. Half turn test, in which they take a few steps and then they turn around and face the opposite direction. Alternative step test, in which you alternatively place and remove your left and right foot onto an 18 centimeter, now we're talking something I'm not familiar with, centimeters, 7 inches, step for 8 repetitions. Is that 8 repetitions on each leg or 8 total? Stair ascent and descent test, in which you walk up and down 8 stairs holding the guardrail. So these are additional assessments they can do. One other assessment that I've heard about is the 8 kilo strength test. 8 kilos is placed on the floor, 18 pounds, and the individual is asked to pick it up, take a step, 1, 2, set it back down twice. If you can do that twice, you are not considered weak, okay? If you can't do it twice, you're considered weak. The weak conclusion to that means that you're so weak, number one, your mortality risk is now increased by 250%. The fact that you can't pick up 8 kilos, move it 2 feet, and then set it down twice, you're at a 250% higher risk of an early mortality, okay? That's a Peter Attia stat, which he discussed on one of his podcasts. I don't have a study that goes with that, but he discussed that in pretty great detail. And then the other one that went with that was a VO2 test, and it was basically if you're not in the upper echelon of your particular age bracket, I think he said the top 20% or top 10%, you have a 400% increase early mortality risk. So this, when I saw the pickup test, that's a really easy one to implement. 18 to 20 pounds, 8 kilos. Have them pick it up, take a step with each foot, right, left, set it down, pick it up again, right, left, set it down. We can do that, okay? I'm not going to say they're not sarcopenic. We're just going to say that they're not at a level of weakness where you have to be, gravely concerned, I would say. Probably one of the only times I could actually use that terminology of gravely concerned. The half turn test, the step test, ascending. I really like the ascending, descending stairs one. This was one I did with my dad as well, as we were really concerned about him and my mom when they moved into their townhome, getting up and down from the first floor to the second. I'm like, man, they had stairs that went down, turned, and then went down the other way. It was like 8 steps or 10 steps in each direction. And I thought, yeah, we're in trouble here. These were 7-inch steps. And Dad was still using a walker and a cane, and so I taught him how to side ascend and descend. So he would turn sideways, hang onto the guardrail with both hands, and then sidestep, and work his way down. And if he were to lose his balance or go down to his knees or whatnot, he could basically kind of slide. He would hang onto the rail and kind of slide. We showed him like how to slide onto his hip, onto his butt to make sure he didn't dump all the way down the stairs, but why he needed those 2 hands on the rails. He tried to go one hand on either side, and it just kept tipping him forward. So that's where we turn to the side and use the side steps down. And then you can do an alternate grip on the railing, which is a very strong, grip, a very strong way to hang on. So that's encouraged as well if you're going to ascend and descend stairs. And this is of concern. We had a walker upstairs for him. We had another one downstairs. So he wasn't trying to ascend and descend the stairs with his assisted device. It was already there wherever he was going. So keep that in mind too. The other one is to get up and down off the floor and see how people do from that one. All right, so summary here, timed up and go. The tug test is used to evaluate your mobility or functional mobility, as we said at the beginning. They start seated, stand up, out 10 feet, turn around, come back, sit down, do it a couple of times, get your time, you're good to go. 13.5 seconds is our concern for fall risk versus a not big fall risk. And you can do this, pretty much on the regular with people. Give you a little score sheet here that the CDC provides on this. So again, their instructions are there. It has a little reminder, always stand next to your patient while you're doing this. Put in their score, any other observations that you have. And then the backside of this also has a clinical frailty scale. So I wanted to throw that on here for you. So you could assess your individual's frailty. And, proper download link will be in the description. So you can pop on there and get this guy and be ready to rock. Now, along with this is the sit to stand test, which is, there's 2. One is a power output test where they start seated and you say go, and they sit down, completely unload their weight, stand up 5 times as quick as they can. You time that. And then there is a general scale. For guys, it's 5.8 seconds, and ladies, it's 6.4 seconds, I think. And those, if you can do it in that time, you have adequate power on average. That was an average number. Adequate power as an aging individual that you can react, basically turn over your musculature on a dynamic fashion, somewhat quick enough to where you're less of a fall risk, okay? So that's another one you can do in here. Sit down, stand up. Sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up 5 times, and you time it, start to finish. basically 6 seconds for both. Guys a little faster, ladies a tiny bit slower on average. 6 seconds was you're powerful enough. More than, I'd say 6.5, 7 seconds, we have concern. And then I want to say it was like 12, maybe 14 seconds. I was just looking at the research on it last night, that if it's over like 12 or 14, let's maybe stick with the 13 they have here. Concern, big concern. And then you have your functional mobility test out and back. You have a power test, sit down, stand up 5 times. And then you have the 30-second sit to stand test. And this is more of a lower body strength / like mini conditioning eval. Now, what we're finding is any cardiovascular exercise anaerobically performed at about a 30-second bout, almost everybody can do. Most people are not going to get winded. Okay, like they'll burn through their oxidative component in 10 seconds, and then they have a short wind variable of another 20, which means they can basically kind of fake not being in good shape for about 30 seconds. It's the aftermath of that 30 seconds is which you want to pay attention to. So they're seated and you say go. And for 30 seconds, they stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. And on average, men, 14 is your goal, ladies, 12. Again, these are averages on performance based on age. These are 60-year-olds. Those numbers all go down on average, all the way down to 90. 95 or older, men should be able to do 7, ladies 4, okay? Those are, again, averages, CDCs, thousands and thousands of reps of research went into that. Now, they do it, 30 seconds, you hit time. I now have a lower body strength assessment and a short cardiovascular test. Now what happens? Is the client like, now what? Or are they, like if you're seeing that, and it's, think of the air bike. You get on the air bike, and you like sprint, and you get to a point where you're like, my muscles just won't go anymore. I am exhausted. You stop and you're like, that wasn't so bad. And you get off the bike and you start to walk away, and all of a sudden you're like, like all of a sudden this rush of like, holy shit, I need to breathe. You put out so much effort so quickly, it almost takes a couple of seconds, sometimes half a minute, for your body to go, bro, we need more oxygen. Get this thing pumping. And it's a delayed response. That's what I'm talking about with this sit to stand test. It's a delayed response, okay? So you're going to experience or see that in somebody that has poor conditioning after the 30-second sit to stand test. So I think that's a really good one that you can then perform there as well, along with the turnaround test, the step test, the up and down the stairs test, up and down off the floor. You have a lot of good assessments you can do with pretty much no equipment or minimal equipment here. But this one gives you a really good return. Timed up and go, your 5 rep sit to stand for power output, and then your 30-second sit to stand test for lower body strength / short cardio. And I think you're good. So any questions on this, let me know. Hopefully this gives you a really good, deep dive, I guess I could say, into that, or moderate dive into it. I will put the link in there for that description for this article and for that download. I'm also going to put in there Mobility Matters, my buddy Christian Thompson. He does really great work. If this is something you're like, man, I really like this, I would love to have more assessments like this, especially if you're getting to work one-on-one with individuals that are either device-assisted, wheelchair, walkers, canes, etc., or near that, then that's Christian's information is, I would say, very valuable to you, and that would be a great place to go over and start learning, because he gets into the depths of those and really gets into great information. I've learned a ton from him. He's a really good dude. He and I worked together on a couple of projects in the past, and there's great info to be had there. So mobilitymatters.com, I believe, is the website, but I'll put the link in there for you in the description so you can check them out. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this. Have a lovely day. Thank you again, those that attended the webinar. Check that out. If you missed it, you can go to our page and register at the link. It's still live. You'll get the recording link right away. You can watch it. We'll also put it on YouTube here shortly. A couple of days we'll get it up on YouTube. But we want to let all the registered viewers get their PDFs, get all the additional sends that we get with it. before we throw it up on YouTube, because you guys, deserve to be there. We had 300 people register for that webinar, so thank you very much. Number 2 on our list, I think we had 350 on one of our previous webinars, so this was a pretty big one. We really appreciate you. We hope you have a great day. Any comments, questions, hit me up down below. If not, continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.